Hey ChatGPT, there is a big claim that I came across that there are 22 errors in Quran. I think there are 22 grammatical errors in the Quran. Do you know anything about it? What I know is that the Quran is Allah's word, and it is perfect.
Quran Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, verse 82. Then do they not reflect upon the Quran? If it had been from any other than Allah, they would have found within it much contradiction. Cleophy, the Quran, as per Islamic belief, is the direct and perfect word of Allah, free from any error or contradiction. Allah himself addresses the claim of errors or contradictions in the Quran in Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, verse 82. Then do they not reflect upon the Quran? If it had been from any other than Allah, they would have found within it much contradiction. This verse serves as a divine challenge to skeptics, asserting that the Quran's consistency, eloquence, and perfection are proof of its divine origin.
Thank you so much, ChatGPT. Let's dive deeper into this chapter together with Jack and Wilson. Hey everyone, before we dive into that, I was delving into my YouTube channel analytics and noticed most of you who watch my videos are not subscribed to the channel. Would you do me a huge favor, please, and hit the subscribe button? It really motivates me and helps the channel to grow so I can do more videos just like the one you're about to watch. So without further ado, let's dive in.
Welcome to a deep dive into the Quran. Well, specifically some claims about its language.
Yeah, it's language.
We're looking at a paper that really digs into the work of a guy named
Abdallah Abdul Fadi.
Abdallah Abdul Fadi.
Right.
And he actually said there are grammatical errors in the Quran.
Yeah, I mean, pretty bold claim.
A pretty bold claim.
Yeah.
Especially since the Quran is really known for this beautiful, complex Arabic.
Exactly.
Makes you wonder, can a text revered for its language really have mistakes?
Yeah.
That's what we're here to figure out.
That's what we're going to find out.
Yeah.
It is a fascinating question. And to be fair to al-Fadi, he wasn't just some, casual observer.
Right.
He was what's called an Orientalist.
Okay.
Meaning he spent his life studying Eastern cultures.
Okay.
Now, Orientalism has a bit of a mixed reputation.
Mm-hmm.
But in al-Fadi's case, he focused on Islam.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book called
Oh, wow.
Is the Quran Infallible?
Is the Quran infallible?
Which, as you can imagine, caused quite a stir.
I bet it did. I bet it did. So to even start unpacking this,
Yeah.
we need, a little Arabic grammar 101.
Yeah, a little crash course.
Yeah, crash course. My Arabic's a little rusty.
No worries, that's why I'm here.
That's why you're here.
Yeah, so think of it this way.
Okay.
In English, word order is super important.
Right.
Right. Dog bites man.
Yeah.
Very different from man bites dog.
Right, right. Big difference, yeah.
But in Arabic, the endings of words, what's called irab, they do a lot of the heavy lifting. These endings tell you the job of each word in the sentence.
Okay. So it's less about where the word is and more about its built-in tags.
Exactly.
Kind of like how a file extension tells your computer what to do with it.
Perfect analogy.
Okay.
Perfect analogy. Now, al-Fadi claimed to find 2 verses where these endings, the irab,
Right.
don't line up,
Okay.
meaning the grammar is wrong.
Okay.
He focused on this concept of adad and madud,
A dad and my dudes.
which basically means numbers and the things they count.
Okay. All right. Hit me with the first allegedly messed up verse.
Okay, so it's from Qur'an 7.160,
Okay.
and we divided them into 12 tribes, each of which is large.
Okay.
Al-Fadi said 2 things are wrong here.
Okay.
First, 12 is a feminine number,
Mm-hmm.
but tribes is a masculine word.
Okay.
Second, with numbers 11 and 12 in Arabic, the thing being counted should be singular,
Okay.
but tribes is plural.
So he's saying it should be 12 tribe, singular.
Exactly.
But the paper we're looking at was written by Islamic scholars,
Right.
and they had a counterargument.
They did. And it hinges on something pretty subtle,
Okay.
an implied word.
Oh, okay.
You know how in English we can say, I want the red one, and everyone knows what we mean. I want the red apple.
Yeah. Right.
Fill in blank.
The word apple is implied, even though we didn't say it.
Right, yeah. The Islamic scholars said that in this verse, there's an implied word before tribes that acts as the thing being counted, the madud, for the number 12.
Okay.
And once you add that implied word, tribes just becomes extra description, not the main thing being counted anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
I get it. We fill in the blank based on the context.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So they're saying the grammar actually works if you understand how Arabic can leave things unsaid.
Clever.
Precisely. And they back this up with another Quranic verse.
Okay.
15.85.
Okay.
And upon them there are 19 guardian angels. Here, too, angels is implied,
Okay.
showing that it's a normal part of how the Qur'an uses language.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about al-Fadi's second example? Surely 2 wrong verses would be more convincing than 1.
Let's see what you think.
Okay.
The second verse is Qur'an 66.4. If you both repent to Allah, then in fact your hearts have been inclined to receive kindness. Al-Fadi argued that since the verse talks to 2 people, it should use the dual form for hearts, like saying your 2 hearts.
Right. Makes sense.
Right.
2 people, 2 hearts.
Instead, it uses the plural, hearts, implying they have more than 2 hearts, which is obviously impossible.
Okay, yeah. I see his point. If you're talking to 2 people, 2 hearts make sense. More than 2. Not so much.
Yeah.
So how did the Islamic scholars address this one?
They argued that using the plural, hearts, here isn't a mistake,
Okay.
but a deliberate stylistic choice.
Okay.
You see, even in pre-Islamic Arabic poetry,
Oh.
they would sometimes use a plural noun where a dual would technically be correct.
Okay.
It's not breaking any grammar rules. It's more like
Right.
adding a flourish to the language.
Huh. So it's like in English saying we instead of you and I.
Exactly.
That's grammatically fine, but we sounds more grand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to prove this wasn't just something made up to defend the Quran, they gave an example from a pre-Islamic poet named Kitam al-Mujasi'i, who used this same plural for dual style in his poems.
Okay.
So it was already an established part of the language.
So both of al-Fadi's examples end up being explained by the scholars,
Right.
either through implied words or this like poetic license thing.
Exactly.
Makes me think, why was he so convinced these were errors in the first place?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Remember, the paper we're looking at
Yeah.
makes it very clear that these scholars believe the Quran is free from error.
Right.
This isn't just a casual opinion for them.
Right.
It's a core part of their faith. The Quran guides their laws, their ethics, their whole way of life.
So to them, finding an error would be like
Yeah,
shaking the foundation of their world.
exactly.
Wow.
And that's why they go to such lengths to explain these verses.
Right.
Using both logic and historical examples from the Arabic language, it's not just about grammar. It's about defending something central to their beliefs.
That makes a lot of sense. But honestly, even if I wasn't coming from a place of faith, just looking at these arguments, the scholars seem to have done their homework.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they weren't just dismissing al-Fadi, they were engaging with his points and using evidence to back up their own view.
Absolutely. And that's a valuable lesson for anyone, regardless of their religious background,
Right.
when we're dealing with complex texts,
Yeah.
especially ancient ones.
Yeah.
It's so easy to misinterpret things if we don't have the full picture. It's like
Right.
trying to understand a joke in another language.
Yeah.
You might get the words,
Yeah.
but without knowing the cultural context,
Yeah.
you'll miss the humor.
Totally. It reminds me of that time I tried to bake a cake using a British recipe,
Mm-hmm.
and turns out a knob of butter
Yeah.
is not a precise measurement.
It's not.
And if I hadn't looked it up, the whole thing would have been a disaster.
Exactly. And just like with baking, when it comes to interpreting texts, the details matter. One little misunderstanding can change the whole meaning.
Yeah, this has been really eye-opening, you know? It's made me realize how much I take for granted when I read things.
Yeah.
I often assume I'm getting the, right interpretation.
Right.
But now I'm wondering how many times have I been, like al-Fadi, missing crucial context or applying my own modern way of thinking to something way older?
That's such a valuable insight. And it goes beyond just ancient texts. We do this all the time in our daily lives, right?
Right.
We interpret messages, emails, even facial expressions based on our own assumptions and experiences.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Makes you wonder how many arguments or misunderstandings happen just because we haven't really grasped what the other person is trying to say.
Cool deal.
Or maybe we're the ones being misunderstood because we haven't explained ourselves well enough. It's a little humbling, isn't it?
It is. And I think that's why this whole deep dive into the Quran and al-Fadi's claims is so relevant. You know, it's a reminder that even something seemingly straightforward like grammar can be incredibly nuanced.
Yeah.
Imagine how much more complex it gets when you factor in cultural differences, historical context, personal biases, all these things that shape how we see the world
Right.
and interpret information.
So what's the takeaway here for our listeners? We might not all be, experts in ancient Arabic.
Right.
But we all encounter these kinds of interpretation challenges all the time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What can we do to avoid being like al-Fadi, like jumping to conclusions without the full picture?
I think a key takeaway is to approach everything with a healthy dose of curiosity and humility.
Yeah.
Don't just assume you understand something at face value. Ask questions, dig deeper, consider alternative viewpoints.
It's like being a detective, right?
Exactly.
Look for clues, gather evidence, and don't rule out possibilities just because they don't fit your initial theory.
Exactly. And this goes for everything.
Mhm.
Reading news articles, having conversations, even evaluating our own beliefs. Are we basing our conclusions on solid evidence and understanding? Or are we letting our assumptions and biases lead the way?
Ooh, that's good.
Right.
This has been such a fascinating exploration.
Yeah.
We started with a claim about errors in the Qur'an,
Right.
learned about the complexities of Arabic grammar, and ended up with some really valuable insights about how we interpret information in general.
Yeah. It's been a great reminder that we're all works in progress when it comes to understanding.
Mm-hmm.
There's always more to learn, more perspectives to consider, and that's what makes the journey so exciting.
So to our listeners, we leave you with this thought.
Yes.
What's something you've encountered that seemed clear-cut at first, but turned out to be more complex once you dug deeper?
Yeah.
Maybe a historical event, a scientific theory, even a personal relationship.
Yeah. Good example.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and as always, happy deep diving.
It's like almost like you have to be willing to be proven wrong to really understand something.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. You have to be open to the fact that you might not have it all figured out.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard thing for people,
It is. It is.
especially in today's world. Everyone wants to be right.
Everyone wants to be certain. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's so certain.
But, embracing that uncertainty, I think that's where the real learning happens.
Right. You're right.
Like
Yeah.
being okay with saying, I don't know,
Mhm.
or I might be wrong, can actually open up so many more possibilities for understanding.
You know what this kind of reminds me of?
What's that?
It's like, remember when we were kids and we would play with those toys that had all the different shapes?
Yeah, yeah.
And you had to find the right hole for the right shape.
The shape sorter.
Shape sorter, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes we try to force it, right?
Yeah. Jam it in there.
Jam that square into the circle hole,
Visually.
but it never worked.
Never works.
It only fit when we found the right match.
the right match.
And I think it's kind of like that with information too.
I see what you mean.
Like we have to find the right shape of understanding to fit the whole of the information.
I love that.
And if we try to force it, if we try to make it fit our preconceived notions, we're going to end up with a distorted picture.
A distorted picture, yeah.
But when we find that right match, when we really understand something, it clicks.
It clicks.
It fits perfectly.
That's a great analogy.
So yeah, maybe the key takeaway from this whole deep dive is be more like a shape sorter.
Be more like a shape sorter. I like that.
Be open, be curious, be willing to try different shapes of understanding until you find the one that fits.
And don't be afraid to start over if you realize you've been forcing the wrong shape.
Exactly. Sometimes you got to empty out the whole bucket of shapes and start fresh.
That's right.
Well, this has been another awesome deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploring the Quran, Arabic grammar, and the importance of open-mindedness.
Always a pleasure.
And until next time, keep those minds curious and those hearts open.
And keep searching for those perfect fits.
That's right. Happy deep diving, everyone.
I'm excited to share some great news with our Hindi-speaking viewers. We have created a separate channel just for you, and all the videos are in Hindi. You can find the link at youtube.com/@CleoPhiHindi, which is also mentioned in the description below. Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. I hope you've gained some valuable insights. If you're a truth seeker, yearning for divine light and ready to step out of darkness, now is your moment. The truth is that Allah is the one and only creator of the universe. He has sent over 124,000 messengers and prophets to guide humanity, starting with Adam and culminating with the final messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all. If you resonate with this message, you might be ready to embrace Islam. Simply recite the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. For further support, feel free to join our WhatsApp group. You can send us a private message there. The link is in the video description. Don't wait until it's too late. We look forward to connecting with you soon.